Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's your host with the most, Griever, as always, bringing you guys the latest review for The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess Manga, Volume number 8. 8 review. The last time we were here, of course, we reviewed Volume 7. Go figure. Currently my favorite volume in the series, even after reading Volume 8. Though Volume 8 continues some of the greatness from Volume 7 and is a lot thinner, Volume 8 has a lot more compact to it. But in all honesty, Volume 7 is still currently my favorite, but who knows, maybe Volume 9 will topple even that. That being said, before we get underway with this one, as you guys all know, there are volume author's notes at the end of every volume. And this one particularly, out of all of the volumes so far, this one spoke to me from so many standpoints. And I'd just like to read it aloud before we get into the review, because I think it's relevant to my feelings towards the direction they took the Twilight Princess manga. So, the author's note states, "We're always thinking as hard as we can about how to turn the game scenarios into a manga. The Temple of Time felt momentous, but the story was rapidly approaching the city in the sky without anything coming into view. So we secretly began to worry. In the end, it turned into an entertaining sequence unusual for Twilight Princess. Enjoy the calm before the storm." Now, what do they mean by this? Well, in most manga, and in most shonens and stuff like that, even in shoujo that have anything that has a battle sequence, anything with any form of combat, even if it's seinen, shonen, or shoujo, they always tend to have training arcs. Training mentors, training this, training that. Realistically, the Legend of Zelda mangas have been so short, they feel long, but they're relatively short. The Twilight Princess one beating the others out of the water with already 8 volumes and we're not done yet. It was almost necessary to see that. And the way they wrote the Twilight Princess Link, which is very unique and probably one of the best written characters, just a direction that no one would have thought to take it, but works so beautifully in the Twilight Princess manga, is the reluctant hero. The reluctant hero who has so many faults. We're not used to our Link, our hero, having so many faults. But in this scenario, it is. So I feel like the author's note brings up a lot of good points. The first point being they want to try to turn as many game scenarios into manga storytelling. And I mean, look no further than the original one when they wrote the Ocarina of Time manga and we had the entire thing with Volvagia. That was totally original content, nothing to do in the game, but now, when I go back and play the game, it's sort of hard for me to fight in the Fire Temple. I'm just saying, right? Because this is what I think of. I believe, even though this is an interpretation, I take this as my canon now. That's how well done and well written and filling in the blanks this manga does. And it's just, you could tell their love of the games. And the other part being that the Temple of Time was like their big thing. And they were really worried about it. Because they knew we're going to go to the Temple of the Sky, the City of the Sky. Not really a whole lot of stuff to really talk about there. So they created a few moments here, there, and everywhere. They create a very unique moment with Alina and the Moblin, right? In the city streets and stuff like that. And I mean, he's been defeated, he's been attacked, he's been brutalized. He believes, the strong shall live, the weak shall die, and the weak become food for the strong. That's his mentality. That's the law of nature sort of idea. A very unique scene, but once again, fleshing out the details that aren't necessary in the game. Twilight Princess is a fantastic game, but for a manga, these type of moments make it truly special when we go away from the grain a little bit and we go into those moments that you don't ever expect or think that are going to happen. But the main thing is that the first half, of course, we're doing our training arc with the original Hero of Time. And not only are we doing our training arc, which we knew was happening at the end of Volume 7, still, once again, my favorite volume. But not only that, we recognize that he's the Hero of Time. We got confirmation in Volume 7, one of the best moments in any manga ever for me. Being growing up with Ocarina of Time and stuff like that as my favorite game of all time. Seeing that, just was a wow moment for me. Got to be one of my favorite moments in manga I've ever read. And then for it to continue on for as long as it did, I was quite worried that at the end of Volume 7, we saw that they were going to train in the Temple of Time, the big Temple of Time moment, which, once again, Twilight Princess, the game, was basically a love letter to kids from the 90s. Kids from the 90s who grew up with, I would say you could argue, like, well, the game is almost in the 2000s. It's like, no, but who played it? It was me, like, born in 91, playing it at 8, 9, 10 years old. That's who was playing Ocarina of Time. Might have been born in 2000, but you were a baby, right? So these games, the Ocarina of Time Majora's Mask, was for the kids of the 90s. That's who played them, and that's who loved them and fell in love with them. And you can tell that this manga here is a love letter to that. You can tell the love of the game. Twilight Princess, the game, was a love letter to us, especially with sequences like the Temple of Time. That was just such a moment for me when I played the game, and then just as great a moment for the way it was handled in Volume 7. Now, here in Volume 8, as I said, I was worried that they might skip the training. We wouldn't spend too much time with the Hero of Time once again. But no, almost the entire first half is, of course, he fights the new version of Goma, pretty much. You know, the spider sort of idea. He gets the shard. Doesn't really go through. They try to bring the bell thing into it and stuff. And, I mean, like, realistically, trying to convert all the temples and all the puzzles, I think they do a fantastic job with the City of the Sky, which I thought would be quite difficult to do. I think they made the correct decision to make the Temple of Time just be the Temple of Time without a dungeon inside of it sort of idea. I understand why they did that in the game, but in the manga, the Temple of Time is more of a symbol of what we know. Because in this thing, unlike Twilight Princess, they have confirmed the Hero of Time is here, and he's done with this Link's bullshit. And he's like, you need to learn how to fight like me. And the new Link wants to say, hey, I want to learn to fight like you. I don't fight like you. He got to see the past. I love the usage of the Temple of Time, seeing the past, seeing young Link pull the sword, watching the battle against Beast Ganon, watching all that stuff and going, I fought so many monsters and so many times with my life on the line, but I've never fought like that. I need to learn how to fight like you, because you are the Hero of Time. I love how much, and once again, you can tell that the mangakas here, they absolutely believe that the Hero of Time is the definitive Link. He is the Link, that he's stronger than all the others. He's the greatest of all time. He is the definitive Link. Sort of like, no matter how many generations of Pokemon go by, Red is the Pokemon trainer. Red is the Pokemon master. That's the point. Red is the OC. He's the original. He's the man. That's just the way it is. The Pharaoh in Yu-Gi-Oh! The original Digidestined. Like, it's just the way, you know. And I've always held to that. You can tell these mangakas feel the same way that I do about that. And it's just a beautiful love letter of a manga. Now, this one is a lot thicker and bigger than, of course, Volume 7. But Volume 8 here continues the training. We see a lot of beautiful artwork once again. Like, if I had to choose an artwork, I want this artwork in my weekly Shonen Jump. This is what I want. I want this artwork. Because you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of classic. Well, for me, it reminds me of Vision of Escaflowne. It reminds me of Inuyasha. It reminds me of like some old school, even like Kenshin and stuff. It reminds me of some just original, well done, medieval, good manga art. It just reminds me of what I loved about manga in the first place when I first started reading manga instead of watching anime. It just gives me that feeling. And in all honesty, we get this entire sequence where Midna also remembers that you're the Hero of Time, you're the Golden Wolf, you were by my side, and he's apologizing and stuff. He was brutal to Link in Volume 7, but here in Volume 8, he's training him, but he's like, no, like, my flesh went away, I might still have the mark of the Triforce, but I'm not the hero anymore. I'm still the Hero of Time, but what does that matter? The Triforce chose you, a new generation. I don't have the power anymore. So he was not able to stop Zant, who gained the power from Ganondorf, who gave, like, Ganondorf is always the same Ganondorf. He has the Triforce of power. This is a wasted away spirit form of the Hero of Time with no Triforce of courage left in his power, and he still believes he failed. He tried to watch over the Twilight Realm. He knew what had happened after the events of Majora's Mask and stuff like that. He knew what had happened And after years, he went away and stuff, and he knew what had happened to, the Gerudo King himself. They were locked in the Twilight Realm. So at the end, we don't really know how this happened, but he decided to watch over the Twilight Realm, and that he took on that charge, even in death. Our hero of time is such a Chad, such a man, that he decided, even in death, he can't sleep. He has to make sure that this guy, he's got to hold back the tide. And he helped, we saw the original, how he helped this Link when the city was taken into the Twilight Realm. He tried to save him. He had a premonition. He tried to save, he believes that he no longer holds destiny or fate, that his job is done, but he continues to try to aid those who have. I think it's a little different. I think destiny or fate or the goddesses or whatever are still intertwining him because they need him. Without him, this Link fails. Without him, Hyrule falls. The Twilight Realm falls. Without him, even though he believes that it's no longer his charge, I believe he still has that destiny because he is the hero. He is the original. And this volume, once again, just like Volume 7, seems to be more of a love letter towards acknowledging him as the hero time. The guy who watched Midna, who was there all the time. Midna finally recognizes him as the Golden Wolf, as the hero of time, the one who tried to protect, and all he does is apologize and say, I'm sorry I was not able to stop Zand. And now this is what I'm going to do. Now, he does not teach Link all the moves, as we see. Taught him, I believe, arts skills. Taught him the blade draw technique, helm splitter, the backslash, all these moves. I think those are moves like 1 through 5, but hasn't taught him all the techniques, tells him this and says, we will meet again sometime if I can, I don't know, sort of idea. And then we move on to the City of the Sky. We see the sort of the sequence between that with where Hyrule Castle is under attack. Of course, the good guys like Russell and all of them, they try to, and Shadid and stuff, they try to turn back the tide against the monsters and stuff. We get the moment with Epona. We get all these moments. Link comes back. They go to the City of the Sky with Shad and stuff. They find the owls and all this stuff. Midna has a really nice moment, though. Like, nobody believes that the Twilight Realm exists. And she says, I had completely forgotten about the arrogance of you light worlders. And sort of idea. Like, it's just like, the moments here are still absolutely wonderful. I'm not going to criticize. I think that this is a really solid volume, but you could tell that they didn't really like the City of the Sky that much. They sort of wanted to get it over and done with and move on to the big stuff. They even say that in the author's note, that the story was rapidly approaching the City in the Sky without anything else sort of coming into view. They couldn't really delay it any longer, so they needed to make it happen. And by the looks of it, they didn't want to split it up, so they tried to fast-pace it to get through it in one volume, even though there was a lot to cover with the Temple of Time and the conversations and the dialogue, and we still need the characters like Midna to have her moments and stuff like that. So either way, it is the calm before the storm. We have a moment before they decide to enter the Twilight Realm. Midna, though seeming like she doesn't want to, she wants Link and her to be able to laugh easily. Wants to be a close friend and stuff. She hardens herself and says, no, I'm the princess of the Twilly. This is my job. This is my burden. And even though she says that, we have this nice moment where they're waiting and Link says, look, this is probably the last time before the final battle, before we go. We might not come back. We might not do this, but we need to work together. We need to save your people. We need to save Hyrule. We need to save everything, right? So I just needed a quick break, and Midna acknowledges that and stuff, and they sort of have this nice moment before the end of the volume. So volume 8 is extremely, I found it quite long. It was a bigger volume than the previous ones, but I really thought it was a worthy successor to volume 7. They did not skimp me out on basically flashbacking the training or anything like that. We get some great training sequences. Choreography is fantastic. I love that they actually implemented the moves like Helm Splitter and stuff, because that's the big thing in the game, that you are learning from the hero of time, because you're wet behind the ears and the hero of time is coming back 100 years, from the past to teach you, sort of idea. That was the main thing. So either way, I just fully enjoyed this manga. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, this volume. And I'm just looking really forward to Volume 9, which I believe is not out quite yet in English, but it might be. I'm going to order it as quick as possible, of course, because I really love this manga. It's in my top 30. Just the entirety of the Zelda mangas, of course, not just Twilight Princess, but all of them. They've been in my top 30 mangas since I started reading them. They might even hit my top 20 if this continues on this pace, because it's such a good love letter to one of my favorite video game franchises of all time, of course, being The Legend of Zelda. And I've got no critiques to say. They rush where they need to rush it. Nobody, they skip parts that nobody really needs to see as far as a storytelling, as far as narrative for a manga. Like, nobody is going to be upset that we didn't get to dive into the temple, that Link didn't explore the temple inside the Temple of Time from Twilight Princess. Ooh, you know, nobody's going to miss that section who played the game and is now reading the manga, but like, that's my favorite part. No, it wasn't. I know it wasn't, because it's nobody's favorite, you know? So they handle it very well, but I like to see in those author's notes, they really take the time to say, look, here's what we decided to do. It's very difficult for us to try to figure this out. What are fans going to like? What are they not going to like? What can we take out? What can we expand? What can we just basically go, okay, we're going to take this one thing and go boom with it, you know? There's so much there to handle, but either way, I really do think that Volume 8 is definitely worthy. Volume 7 is still obviously my favorite because it's the big moment, the big reveal, where they canonize that it is the Hero of Time, which is sort of left vague for the entirety. The Hero Shade is left vague. Is he the Hero of Time? Is he not? In Twilight Princess, they lay it on thick, but they never confirm. But here, they're going, oh, hell yeah. and they give him a much bigger role, which of course I love. So definitely, guys, pick up Volume 8. It is definitely a worthy successor. You know, for such a long game, the only thing that I hope that one day, like if they do Skyward Sword, whatever they're going to do, I would actually love to see if they would write a volume of extra chapters for the Ocarina of Time Link. That would be really cool, because you can tell that here with Twilight Princess, they've gone past 8 volumes. But the first times they did the Zelda series, a volume apiece, you know, a couple of volumes, and that was it, sort of idea. And I think that now, where that people love these, and I'm assuming the sales are doing well, where they never stop making Zelda volumes, I'm going to assume that they would have loved to have more time to expand on the Ocarina of Time storyline and expand on that world of Hyrule more so than any other game, because you can tell that these two mangakas absolutely adore the original N64 games. So, but yeah, so that's enough about that, I guess. Like, comment, and subscribe, guys. I really hope you guys, I urge you, if you love Zelda, even if you don't love the Zelda games, if you've never played a Zelda game, you can still read these. That's how well done they are. You don't need to read you don't need to play a single game to get into this manga, but if you do play the games, if you do love the games, then they're going to be just that much better. And that is such a hard task to do, and these two do it flawlessly. So either way, that's enough from me. Like, comment, and subscribe as always, guys. Don't forget to drink responsibly as always, and we will see you guys back here again next time for Twilight Princess, The Legend of Zelda, Volume number 9. I can't wait till it comes out. Hopefully I got the coin to buy it. All right, we'll see you back here next time, ladies and gentlemen. Peace out.